Welcome to Brewsers, a podcast about beer, coffee, booze, and bruisers. I'm your host, Roddy John, and today we speak to P. Scott Vallely from Charter Oak Brewery. We talk all about being the #1 voted Connecticut brewery, their multiple beer series, and so much more. This is such a fun interview. We talked for a very long time, so I will get right to it. We're going to get to Charter Oak Brewery, but first, make sure to sign up for our newsletter. You get even more information about our guests. You get fun facts, and you get to find out what's happening with your favorite podcast, all about beer, coffee, booze, and bruisers. So without further ado, here is P. Scott Vallely from Charter Oak Brewery. How are you doing today, sir?
Hey, John, how are you doing today?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. Where are you? What town or state or village are you calling?
DFW Metroplex here in Texas.
Oh, okay. How did you get Charter Oaks? How did you get our name?
You guys just came up, I guess, pages you might know or like on Instagram. And I was like, okay, I'll talk to another brewery. I have no issue with that.
Oh, how about that? Good.
Yeah.
Oh, it sounds like it's working.
So far, so good. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I've loved reaching out to, different parts of the country when it comes to breweries and seeing, how things are going in their area compared to obviously how the DFW area is going. And so, I've loved learning so much about it.
Yeah. Are you a brewer as well, or how did you get involved with this besides consumption?
Well, mainly consumption, yeah. No, I have friends that are brewers, and they, I've learned from them. I've done some brew days with them, but, I'm definitely not on the level of knowing exactly what I'm doing if I were to be in charge of a brew by any stretch of imagination. Yeah. But, I mean, the whole thing is just fascinating because it's that beautiful mixture of science and art together and, getting it all together. And, obviously the sanitation part is so important, which I didn't think about ahead of time. And, that's most of what a brew day really is. And then, it's the waiting, it's the, adding the little things here and there to really kind of make sure this flavor comes through or this flavor comes through. And then, all that stuff is just fascinating to me.
That's terrific. How are you finding the industry? I mean, we're in a little bit of a flux right now after COVID.
Yeah, I think that COVID really either truly helped certain breweries or they obviously is unfortunately the detriment of a lot of other ones, because a lot of them that I've talked to, they said, well, we kind of had some canning people that would come in and, we would work with them. And then once pandemic happened, we had to buy our own canning machine. And that really took a lot of people to the next level. And then, of course, when it comes to how each state dealt with the pandemic, as was really either a detriment or a good thing for people, that in those states, because of the fact, so here in Texas and in Florida, things were a little more open than they were in most other states, to say the least.
We refer to you guys as the Wild Wild West. Especially Florida. I don't think they got the news. I don't think they got the report that we had.
They definitely did not get any. Well, I mean, they constantly have sun and beautiful weather, so they had no issue with this being outside on a regular basis. So it was fine.
Absolutely amazing. But how are you finding? And we can get into your program, but how are you finding the climate today with brewery? I mean, I see a lot of doom and gloom, and I'm just freaking.
Oh, wow.
My glass is always half full.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's breweries going out of business at a faster rate now. Burn rate is going up on cash. People kind of dove into their savings during COVID, and the growth hasn't come back. Pre-COVID numbers haven't come back. And I'm not just talking about Charter Oak. I'm kind of talking globally or macro on it. But we're almost at a par where we have just as many breweries closing as opening. We've never been near that statistic.
No, not at all. I mean, we're seeing it in other aspects too, especially when you look at live events in general, so concerts, pro wrestling, sporting events. Those were really hit obviously big time during the pandemic because you couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't do anything. People, people were still, for the most part, not feeling all that comfortable. That's why you're seeing people still wear masks when they go to the grocery stores or just, any other random place that they have to go out, even when they're driving by themselves in a car, which I always think is the funniest thing. But people are still somewhat on the fence when it comes to going out and doing things. However, we're seeing it on the Texas end where people have no issue whatsoever going out and, being around people and other things like that. But I think it's, hitting the brewery scene as well, because there's a lot of people that either they're not going to breweries or they're going to their, favorite watering hole, and they may not have the local brews on tap, which I always think is a giant myth on, any proprietor. I get the big beer money aspect of it, and it's easier to go through, one or two different distributors and get your beer that way, and so it's easier for them on that sense. However, I think you're really doing a disservice to your metroplex. So, like, the DFW area has at least 80 breweries that are open right now, but also the DFW area is not getting any smaller. So we're constantly growing, and that means more breweries are going to end up opening. Unfortunately, that on the other side, like you said, there are going to have some breweries that are closing. However, if you have, like, obviously it's a gigantic place, but Globe Life Field, where the Texas Rangers, the world champions right now, play, it's hard getting local beer there. If you look in left field, they have a giant Carbach tent or, tin roof thing. And I'm like, wait a minute, Carbach is out of Houston. Why are we not showcasing any other, local, like, big places like, let's say, Deep Ellum Brewing or Martin House Brewing or any other, big the brewery you have in the Metroplex? And, like, you have the ability to showcase any of these breweries. Like, let's just say you take fourth of them. That's 20 breweries of the Metroplex, and then try to get those in your, over 100 places you can get beer. Like, it just makes no sense. And especially if you have, like, a dive bar or any other, like, in-between kind of establishment, really showcase your local beers, because if people don't know about them, people haven't tried them, then, you have to get them in their mouths to really allow them to understand it and start loving a new favorite brewery.
Yeah, no, totally. The problem with the big venues is pay to play. And craft guys, we just can't. You just can't do it. I mean, it's not even a dialogue. It's just the dollars are too meaningful. They're too materialistic.
Yeah.
So it's tough to get into any of those. We're into a bunch up here, but it hasn't been easy at all. And certainly we're the little guys. We're not next to the Buds, Miller, Core, or that kind of stuff. So. But
I mean, most people aren't, especially nowadays.
Oh God, it's been unreal. So how did you get into this business? How did you get into the podcast world? Is this where you make your money, or is this a sidekick for you? Or?
Oh no, it's definitely it's a passion project for now. I have a day job, and I had been doing. Well, I still do a podcast about the city of Arlington, Texas, for the past. This will be 5 years now, and I was starting to try to lump in the things that I do for this podcast into that one. And my girlfriend at the time was like, why don't you just do a podcast about that stuff? Because, people, even in the city of Arlington, don't really care about a podcast about the city of Arlington, let alone people outside of Texas or in any other state. And I was like, well, I do love pro wrestling, MMA, beer, wine, booze, coffee. Yep. And so I was like, let's put all of them together. And it's worked out really well so far. And I've gotten, well over 100 episodes in, and it doesn't look like I'm slowing down anytime soon.
Good for you. Good. What's your listening audience? How many folks you got plugged in?
We're in the hundreds right now that I know of. Obviously, we're looking to grow way more than that. It's just, getting more people tuned into it. And, I've gotten the actual other breweries that reach out to me because they discovered it because I happened to interview somebody they know. And so they started binge listening, and, they became fans, and I've gotten other people doing the same thing. And so it's slowly but surely, like, getting that momentum. It's just, obviously when you create something and you want, more people to enjoy it, more people to consume it, it's never fast enough, but obviously, like,
Yeah.
on your side that, low and steady eventually does win that race.
Well, viral is the best,
Yeah, viral obviously does. It's definitely the main thing that you want to do.
But it's slow. I mean, that's our model.
Yeah.
It's slow. It's slow. It's slow. It's slow.
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing this since 2012. I mean, we're having a good conversation. Let's just keep flowing the way we are right now.
Yeah. But you got no worries there. What would you like to talk about, young man?
Well, as you're hearing, I'm having a wonderful conversation here with P. Scott Vallely. It's Vallely, right?
Vallely.
Vallely. Okay. I was looking at it. I was like, how am I going to do this one? But
no, that's okay. It's like Valley with an extra L stuck in there. So Vallely.
Vallely. And yeah, you're with Charter Oak Brewing in Connecticut. Let's go all the way back in time with you. What is your earliest memory of beer?
So I have been actually brewing beer for over 40 years now. In fact, the joke in Connecticut and kind of the surrounding area, I've probably been brewing beer longer than most of the brewers in Connecticut have been alive. I started in the early 80s. It became, legal under President Carter with his dopey brother Billy. And I didn't know it was legal or illegal or what, but I have a place up in Vermont. So I've always kind of enjoyed visiting the Vermont breweries. And I'd go up there I laugh when I think about my journeys up there, with a brown shopping bag. These guys would give me some grain. They'd give me some hops. I've got 6 children, so we used to get the milk delivered to the house in those, glass containers. I'm really aging myself now. But I would clean those out with B Bright or C Bright, and they'd put some yeast in it, and I'd bring it home. I would roll the husks out, the grain, put it in some warm water, boil it, transfer it, put it in, pitch some yeast, and voila, I would bottle and have beer. I don't know if it had any alcohol or, not much consistency going on. Didn't even really know what I was doing. Well, clearly didn't know what I was doing. But had a ball. Nobody went blind. Nobody got sick. It was friends and family, so a fairly biased off-take. And the beer was free, so but it was mainly friends and family. And then, ironically, after doing that for a period of time, and there was no, web, there was no brewery supply stores or any of that kind of stuff. Once that began to happen, I actually, sounds kind of back-assward, but I migrated into extract instead of starting with extract and going to all grain, because there was no extract when I started here. I didn't know about it anyway. So I went into extract and actually, got some directions, asked the brewers some more leading questions, and I don't know, in my humble opinion, the beer was pretty decent. I had no instrumentation, no hydrometers or anything, so again, no idea if I had alcohol in the beer. But it had some fuzz to it, it had some carbonation, and it seemed to work. And then I, went back to all grain, and actually it's kind of ironic. Pete's Wicked Ale, that's a a brewery down by you guys. Yeah. So I always liked that one. And that was, when I started getting back into all grain 1,000 years ago, I wanted a goal. And my goal was to emulate the flavor, the aroma, and the shade of Pete's Wicked Ale. And I have to tell you, I never did get there, but it was the origin for the first beer that we put out commercially, and that's our brown ale. And
oh, wow.
So the brown ale is always kind of one that's been kind of a favorite of mine. We always have it on draft here. It's a we win awards for it. It's been a really good one. But that's kind of the fast step on my memories of brewing and having fun with it. And I still go up and talk to the breweries up in Vermont, but they're a whole lot bigger than they used to be, and a little bit more corporate